You're listening to the Manifest Your Greatness podcast, and this is episode number 82. Hi, friends. I'm Curtis J. Washington. And look, the purpose of this podcast is simple. We are constantly being bombarded with messages like, we could be happy if only we had a particular thing, or we could be successful if only we made X amount of dollars, or we could be at peace if only so-and-so loved me. These messages are not only disempowering, but also they are simply not true. This is because it's not about where you are and where you want to be. It's about who you are right now and who you wish to become. Once you know what the ideal you looks like, then you will automatically start becoming aware of what steps you can take right now to move in the right direction. And the goal of this podcast is to help you look within and discover all the love, all of the beauty, and all of the unlimited potential that you already possess, and for you to set it free for you and for the world to see. Welcome to the Manifest Your Greatness podcast. Hi, friends. Thank you for taking this time to join this episode of the Manifest Your Greatness podcast, where we explore practical and actionable steps that you can take to help manifest the greatness that you already possess deep inside. And first of all, I just want to say thank you very much for tuning in. We've had a lot of wonderful guests lately, and there's more to come. And I'm just so excited to be bringing you all of this fresh new content, and just the insight that some of these guests are able to provide is just, it's so life enriching. So please continue to tune in. There's a lot more great things on the way. Please do check out some of our more recent podcasts. If you haven't checked out some of those episodes, I'm sure you'll find something and someone that will really resonate with what you're potentially going through, and will help to give you some information and some inspiration to move forward the best that you can today and in the days ahead. Today, I want to talk about vulnerability. Now, vulnerability has gotten this bad rap. I think it's been kind of generalized to the point where I think a lot of people associate being vulnerable with being weak, or, just having lots of shortcomings. And that's not it. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that, because vulnerability can be such a great attribute, and it's something that really helps to express your authenticity. I think that there's this misconception that in order to be regarded as having it together and being on track and making good progress and being in control, all of these things, right? It's associated with not being able to share extra layers about yourself. And that's really what vulnerability is. It's not going out and saying that I don't know anything, or I'm not capable of doing certain things. It's not about wearing all of that on your sleeve and saying, yeah, there's so many things I don't get. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not the vulnerability I'm talking about. I'm talking about vulnerability in the sense that you are expressing your real self, and being able to do that requires that you engage with others, incorporating more of what you are. Right? Not just what you do know, not just what you do understand, not just talking at people. Vulnerability allows you to connect with people. I had a guest on, Michelle Steiner, who has a learning disability, and she's also a paraeducator. So she has students that come to her for help. And she was saying that one of the things that makes her so approachable is that at the beginning of the school year, she tells her students, hey, I am here for you, and I'm able to help any way that I can. Just don't come to me with any math questions, because we have other teachers that are more skilled in that. But, language, reading, whatever else, bring it on. I'd be happy to help. And if you think about this for a second, if you're a child, if you're a student, and you're in a classroom and you have a question, which teacher are you likely to reach out to for assistance? The one that seems from your perspective to just know all the answers, or the one that admits that they don't know all the answers? Now, think of it as a student, right? Who would you feel more comfortable with connecting with? I'll tell you, well, beyond question, I would feel a lot more comfortable talking to the teacher who has already showed me that they are not perfect, that there are things that they don't get, because I can relate to that. Because I'm a student, I'm trying to figure it out. And the last thing I want to hear as a student is, when I go to a teacher and ask a question, is, you're just not studying hard enough, right? I mean, from the teacher's perspective, if this is one of those teachers, right, that you look at and it's like, oh yeah, they of course they know it. I really hope that they can share with me how to do a little bit of what they do, and it's intimidating, right? But if someone is vulnerable and someone says, "Hey, I got skills. There are some skills that I don't have that are not as strong as others, but I got skills. I'm here to help you." Then it's like, okay, all right, this person knows what it's like to struggle. This person knows what it's like to get some wrong answers. This person's real. They got dimensions. That's what I'm talking about when I say vulnerability. When you put yourself out there and you're willing to admit that you don't get everything, there are certain things that you know, can use some assistance with or clarification with, or that you're still trying to figure out. The more that you are able to become comfortable letting that out, the more connections you're going to be able to make with people, because the more authentic you will be able to show yourself. This isn't about a means to an end. This is about being you and just letting yourself come out. If you're walking around feeling like you have to be the one that everybody thinks of as having it all together and, being in control all the time, you are by default making yourself less approachable. Now, I'm not saying that if you're a coach or you're a teacher or you're an instructor or you've got some role, you're a CEO, whatever it may be, I'm not saying that you get out there and say, "Hey, I have no idea what's going on. Nice to meet you." What I'm saying is that, of course, you can express your expertise, right? But you can do it in a way that makes you whole, right? You can do it in a way that is encompassing all that you are, or at least more of what you are than just the skills you were hired for, right? Just what people come to you and expect you to know all of the time, right? You want layers, you want dimension, you want that connection. And by being vulnerable, you're going to be able to make those connections not only more easily, but they're going to be deeper, richer connections that you're going to be able to make with those around you. So next time you start thinking about vulnerability as being something that you don't want people to, know about what skills you don't have or what you don't understand, remember this, that you should always have confidence, and you should exude confidence when it comes to what you are capable of learning. Now, that is a different kind of confidence than having confidence that you know everything, right? You should be able to have confidence that if you reach out, if you ask questions, if you advocate for yourself, that you can move forward. And that requires vulnerability. The more that you act and think and live with this mask on, that you have to show everybody that you've got it all figured out, you are closing opportunities for yourself to grow. If you're afraid to ask a question, you're closing off opportunities. If you're afraid to appear vulnerable, you're closing off opportunities. If you're afraid to get uncomfortable and be truly your authentic self in front of people, then you're losing an opportunity to grow, to enrich your life, to have more fulfilling experiences. So vulnerability is a power. That's something you should be working to develop. And again, I'm not talking about appearing weak or appearing as if you're incapable. That's not the vulnerability I'm talking about here. I'm talking about having the accountability to think of yourself as a growing person that needs to continually push their limits. And in order to do that, they've got to engage and they've got to admit when they don't get the whole picture. And that's fine. That makes you human, and that makes you a lot more of a three-dimensional, approachable human being. So That's what I wanted to say about that today. So keep in mind that vulnerability is a good thing and it's something that should be developed. And if you have this sense of, this not that, and it feels so uncomfortable and you don't want to put yourself out there, notice it, but work at it, right? It's a process. This is not something that you're just going to go, okay, yeah, I know how to do this. Vulnerability. Yeah, I got it. I got it. It is something that requires course correction, especially if you've been used to, approaching things with that mask on all this time. You're going to need to, work at this, but it's a process, and I'm sure that with time and effort, you're going to be able to really incorporate that into your life, and you're going to be so much happier that you did. So that's my challenge for you today. I want you to pick some opportunities that you have to let your guard down and to allow yourself to be authentically you even more by allowing yourself to be vulnerable. Drop that guard, right? You're around people you trust, let them know that you've got something that you need some assistance on. You've got something you need clarification on. If it's someone that is in a position of seniority or something like that, take a deep breath, but do the same thing, right? Do the same thing. This is how you grow. Put yourself in these uncomfortable situations. That's how you grow, right? And if people are looking at you and thinking that because you're asking questions, you are less than or something like that, just remember that's their problem, not yours, right? We can't be responsible for the way others think. We can only be responsible for what we think. And as long as we're being authentic and true to ourselves, there's nothing to apologize for. Thank you so much for joining this episode of the Manifest Your Greatness podcast, and I look forward to spending time with you again on an episode in the near future. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Manifest Your Greatness podcast. If you liked what we've explored on this episode, then you'll love the Manifest Your Greatness coaching program. The Manifest Your Greatness coaching program is uniquely tailored to help support you on your journey to become the absolute best version of yourself. So if you are committed to taking the steps required to significantly and permanently level up in any area of your life, visit manifestyourgreatness.com/contact. Again, that's manifestyourgreatness.com/contact and schedule your free consultation call today. Talk soon.